Oh, hello there. Yes, there is a spectre haunting the West. The spectre of identity politics. Yes, Sunday must be a new episode of The West. This is the last one in the series, and they've elongated it. I was always weeping at the end, hoping that it was going to finish. Anyway, it contains a hell of a lot of word salad. I'll give you a flavour of that just here.
If we don't acknowledge our existence as a tradition, we're in no position either to continue it, to defend it when it needs defending, or to reform it in a proper way when reform is truly indicated. Unless we come to understand who we are and where we've come from, we can't go forward in an intelligent way.
But as long as we have a sense of self-confidence, the willingness to stand up for our values, the willingness to fight for what we believe in, we can prevail. But weakness, self-loathing, hatred for the past, and any sign of giving in to the enemies of freedom will result in victory for our enemies. So we must never allow that to happen. We have to prevail. We have to win.
Yes, indeed. Niall there at the end. Matt, he actually gets paid to basically write that all day long in various right-wing newspapers. It's really quite astounding that somebody who can manage to come out with so many words that are utterly meaningless. Anyway, the bit before that, yes, we must question everything all the time, but not like that, is the basic thrust of the New Culture Forum with this one. As ever, I'm really struck by the notion of libertarians, people that are very comfortable telling us how great things are, and that nothing should change lest their lives change. I'm comfortable, why aren't you? They scream all the time. Well, because we're not, mate. Because for the last few years things haven't been brilliant, have they? But you're not going to question that at all, are you? Despite the fact that it's very important to question things or something. And then we get, about halfway through, we do actually get to the crux of the matter. So let's just have a little peek again.
John Locke himself must bear some of the blame. Alongside his many brilliant ideas, he had one very bad one, that the mind was an empty cabinet at birth, waiting to be filled by experience. Out of this abstract speculation, others built a radical new political theory with enormous practical consequences. If the mind was a blank slate, then education could train up human beings along revolutionary lines. Suddenly, politics had a new task. Not to encourage individual virtue, but to domesticate people like farm animals.
Well, yes, I mean, people aren't empty vessels. It's not the way that education works, is it? We need to produce people that are freely willing to question everything, especially about the West. No, not like that. And in fact, the fact that there are people questioning the West means that we need to bring in new laws to stop them from doing it. Let's create a huge hullabaloo about CRT. Yes, it doesn't really add up, does it? Yeah, you can't sort of square that circle. And as ever, it basically comes down to a kind of class-based thing. I know I'm always going on about class, but in this situation, I think it's true. What they mean is that it's fine for them to think freely, even though they all think the same. Oddly enough, they always do. But for the rest of us, need to be policed because it's dangerous. I mean, imagine if I say something to somebody in a class of mine and they start thinking. Dreadful. Yeah, it's not what the West was built on, was it? Well, no, sorry, it was what the West was built on, but the important people doing it is the important thing. You need to come up with the right way of doing it. I mean, to me, the epitome of this is a little story that they come out with about a particular painting being saved because it wasn't shelled during the Second World War in Italy, because the person knew about that was in charge of the artillery on the British side knew about it and didn't shell the town. And all I could think about when I was listening to this was, what about the Abbey at Monte Cassino? Because it was flattened by Allied bombs. Or maybe that's just the message that we should be getting, that the whole notion of the West is inherently flawed and confused, and it contains an awful lot of contradictions. I'm happy with that. The thing that's really disappointing, I think, about this particular series, as it indeed that whole libertarian mindset is it constantly downplays the reality of the thing that makes us free is democracy. It isn't the economy. It isn't what John Locke writes. It isn't other stuff. It isn't a bleeding painting from 1403. It's about us, the people, insisting on having a share in the power. I mean, they go on about the French Revolution. What about the English one? We had a civil war. We got rid of kings. It's not mentioned. It's quite strange. Anyway, do watch it yourself. It's a bit of a tough one, this one. Let me know how wrong I am, as ever, in the comments.